Hey, how's it going, guys? So we're back with more Star Wars. If you're new channel, welcome. So this one is called, by the way, this is by Red 5, so shout out and credit goes to Red 5 as always. Now this one is called the 10 worst jobs in all of Star Wars. Now, just looking at the thumbnail, the first one says Coruscant police, so I'm guessing like the underworld, because the underworld's very dangerous. So yeah, personally I wouldn't want to do that. And the one in the middle is the Twi'lek dancer. I think it's for Jabba. Yeah, I mean, and we saw what happened to her in episode 6, and when Princess Leia took her place. So I can't. I'm already like agreeing that those are two really bad jobs, but I'm really curious to see what the other one is. I think the other one is a spice miner. Yeah, I mean, imagine like working in a coal mine like that, because it has like very bad repercussions on your health and your lungs and everything. So I'm guessing spice miner will be the same thing too. But let's take a look at what 10 jobs Red 5 has in store. So without anything else, let's jump right into the video.
Jobs. We all have to work one, and chances are, at some point in your life, you'll have one that outright sucks. Whether your boss is a jerk, your pay isn't good, you work with idiots, or you're doing something that just sucks. As bad as it may be, I guarantee it's a lot better than the worst jobs in a galaxy far, far away. We've already taken a look at the very worst jobs in Star Wars when it comes to the Galactic Republic and its successor state, the Galactic Empire. But today,
I haven't seen those two yet, so I'm going to have to look into it.
And looking at the broader Star Wars galaxy. These are the 10 worst jobs in all of Star Wars.
Alright, let's see. I gotta check out those other two videos too.
Number 1, Bounty Hunter. As the client once said in The Mandalorian Season 1,
bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
A bounty hunter was an individual who could be hired to capture, hunt, or eliminate a designated target that had a price on their head. For the right price, most bounty hunters had no morals and did everything for the money. Aside from the highest bidder,
I guess, yeah, that could be a pretty bad job. I mean, you could get rich, but...
Indeed, Greef Karga of the Bounty Hunters Guild outright stated that all bounty hunters were effectively mercenaries. Guns for hire that only stayed around a place if profit or work were to be had. Well, it may look awesome to live the life of a notorious bounty hunter like
it just looks
Boba
cool.
Fett, Cad Bane, Bossk, or any of the others you've probably heard of. It's important to remember that these individuals were the top 1% of their profession. We're here to talk about the bottom 99%. The low-level bounty hunters in way over their heads. Obviously,
either got killed or don't make profit.
Bounty hunters in life or death situations, attempting to apprehend dangerous individuals or protect those with a target on their back. That's not to mention the amount of internal competition from other bounty hunters. Let's take a look at a few examples. Riot Marr was a human bounty hunter working for the Bounty Hunters Guild. He got shot down. Idea of attacking Din Djarin's Razor Crest in order to capture Grogu. This was essentially tugging on the Grim Reaper's robe, as Din made pretty quick work of him. Then there's the trio of Trandoshan hunters that jumped Din Djarin before he even had his upgraded Beskar armor. All
he had plot armor.
Dispatched of easily by the Mandalorian. Finally, we'll mention Toro Calican, who was attempting to join the Bounty Hunters Guild and made the unfortunate mistake of trying to apprehend Fennec Shand, trying to kill her, meanwhile turning on Din Djarin. It was a plain stupid move that cost him his life. So, if you're going to be a bounty hunter, just be a good one and don't be stupid. Number 2, Rancor Keeper. Let's be clear, we're not talking about Danny Trejo. Remaining in the category
Danny
of
Trejo barely stayed
at Jabba's palace,
in that series for like, what, 2 minutes?
Such as Malik Keeley from Return of the Jedi. First of all, any job where you're working for a greedy crime lord is less than ideal. Then there's the obvious fact that Rancors were massive beasts. Yes, they were somewhat intelligent and could form bonds with their caretakers, but they did have an affinity for eating people. Being a Rancor Keeper would require working in close proximity to a creature that can be highly unpredictable and aggressive. That's not to
you could be
mention
eaten.
the poor work environment. Take the home
We have a
of
job
Jabba's
opening,
Rancor
but we're not going to tell you why.
Patissa, for example, it was dark, damp, and unpleasant. The smell, noise, and general upkeep of a Rancor's living space would be far from ideal. I mean, these guys probably had to clean up its poop. Just look at the size of them. A Rancor would make an elephant look tiny. Also, Rancor
elephant's
keepers
crap
like
big.
Malakili were slaves. So you're also not going to be getting paid well. Despite this, Malakili was very attached to the Rancor he took care of, evident by his tears after Luke Skywalker killed it. Fun fact, in canon, Malakili was actually one of the last to leave Jabba's palace and considered killing himself. But he eventually came to meet Cobb Vanth and went on to find purpose running a restaurant with Jabba's former head chef, Porcellus, in Mos Eisley. The more you know. Number 3,
Hey,
Jabba's
worked out.
Dancers. Last entry from Jabba's
Yep,
palace.
this is what
I
I'm talking
promise.
about.
This one is pretty simple. Jabba the Hutt's dancers were, first of all, slaves, and tied to his throne. The boss was literally a slimy slug monster that had you on a leash. Your job was to entertain Jabba and do whatever he wanted, while wearing suggestive clothing. Jabba's dancer in Return of the Jedi, named Ula, often had to deal with his gross advances. Oh yeah, and one wrong move means your Rancor food, all at the press of a button at Jabba's discretion. Far from a great job, indeed. Number 4, Death Stick Stealer. We all remember this
You wanna
guy
buy
from
some
Attack
Death
of the
Sticks?
Clones who tries to sell Obi-Wan Kenobi Death Sticks.
Oh, I remember this
But
guy.
what are Death Sticks exactly? A Death Stick was a highly addictive illicit substance readily found in the underworld of Coruscant and other locales across the galaxy. Delivered inside luminescent sticks, they were a favorite among desperate addicts and thrill seekers. The drug
I don't know,
offered
man.
euphoria
Listen
in
to the
exchange
title
for a
itself,
horrific
Death
outcome,
Sticks.
producing a twisted version of reality enhanced by bright colors. With each dose, the user's life was shortened, and the successive doses took away larger chunks from a lifespan, hence the name Death Sticks. Elaine Celsabagno was the name of the individual who tried to sell Obi-Wan Kenobi some Death Sticks. Luckily for him, as Obi-Wan suggested through the Force, he actually went home and completely rethought his life. Celsabagno managed to break his Death Stick addiction and swore off to dealing business, going on to have a
worked
daughter.
out.
The lesson here is pretty simple. Don't consume and sell something for a living that is actively taking years off of your life. Number 5,
Like
Spice
cigarettes,
Miner. Sticking
cigars,
with the
smoking,
theme of
drugs,
narcotics,
marijuana.
How about the most well-known one from Star Wars, Spice? The Spice Mines of Kessel were a series of slave labor camps where workers were forced to mine a medicinal spice mineral and turn it into the dangerous drug. Spice mining was extremely dangerous, and slaves were thus used as expendable labor. Life expectancy for humanoid species in the mines of Kessel was said to be 2 to 3 years, while Wookiees had an expected survival time of just 3 months. Spice mining was accomplished via the use of deep pits, mine shafts, and massive refineries. It was known as a form of torture, as the work was so difficult and the conditions so poor. The mines were extremely cold, so much so that thermal suits had to be worn to keep workers alive. In Star Wars Legends, it was even said that the mines were also home to dangerous energy spiders that constantly attacked the workers who mined the precious spice.
Oh,
Number
hell
6,
no.
Coruscant Underworld Police. So,
Yeah, the
how about
underworld.
The
There
ones
we
who are
go.
supposed to stop people like Death Stick dealers? The Coruscant Underworld Police was a special forces law enforcement section of the Coruscant Security Force, patrolling the lower levels of the Galactic Republic's capital planet. While the surface of the planet-spanning city was home to senators, Jedi, and the galactic elite, the Coruscant Underworld was a rough place. Underworld police officers stood in contrast to the polished GU series Guardian police droids that were primarily charged with law enforcement in the upper levels. Coruscant cops in the underworld were known to be burly and hardened officers as they worked in such a cutthroat environment. They wore heavy leather and metal armor, with their heads completely
better be
covered
paid well.
and mechanical eye coverings to protect them from the many dangers they encountered from the criminal elements of the underworld. The armor gave them a presence of anonymity and authority and had the added effect of giving them a mystic reputation. As to others, it was unclear if they were humanoid, droids, or something else. But even with their equipment and rigorous training, these officers worked in one of the most hostile environments in the galaxy. Number 7, Moisture
bet.
Farmer. On sun-scorched
Oh, really?
worlds like Tatooine,
then again,
many
never mind.
settlers in the desert were moisture farmers, literally harvesting water. The harvested water could be sold at a market or used by the farmers themselves in hydroponic gardens. The water was harvested using moisture evaporators, which were able to yield up to 2 liters of condensed water a day. However, this figure could vary dramatically depending on location. Moisture farmers built their homesteads to be partially buried in the ground, as this protected them from wind
As we saw in
and
the
heat
movies.
and kept the residents cool. If living on a dry desert world and farming water wasn't depressing enough, moisture farmers were often vulnerable to thieves and bandits who would steal their profits. The Tatooine Moisture Farm Collective even often employed hunters to kill wild creatures that were known to attack moisture farms. At one point, Jabba the Hutt also imposed a water tax. His enforcers collected water from the moisture farmers, sometimes by force, on behalf of their master. To make matters
Of course.
worse, this was in the midst of a serious drought. Aside from bandits, there was also the risk of Tusken Raiders.
Sand
Then
people.
you typically had to buy your droids and other equipment from Jawas, who didn't shy away from selling less than stellar machinery. Also, if your name happens to be Lars, you're almost guaranteed a terrible death. You can see why Luke Skywalker was so eager to leave the Twin Sun planet. Number 8, Nerf Herder.
Yeah.
You
Nerf
know your
herder.
job isn't great when it's used as a common insult.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder.
Who's scruffy looking?
A nerf herder
Hey,
was
rest in
someone
peace,
who
Carrie
herded
Fisher.
nerfs on various planets throughout the galaxy. A nerf was basically a Star Wars cow, except it had horns. Was known to have a pungent smell,
So a bull.
and also spit a black, sticky, acidic saliva that could burn exposed skin and stain clothing. As such, nerf
What the
herding was
fu-
perceived as an occupation for lower-class beings. That's not to mention the Nerf had many natural predators that a herder would have to fight off to protect their animals.
Oh,
Number 9,
great.
Geonosian Worker. Alright, now we're getting
So
a
to
little
protect the
more
cow, I gotta fight the
species-specific for
predators.
the last 2. Geonosian Society incorporated a caste system. The members of the Worker, or Lesser Caste, formed the lower class of Geonosian Society. They were oppressed by the Warrior Caste, most of which thought nothing of compelling thousands of workers to toil
Oh, see, they were
under
against
harsh
each other, too.
conditions regardless
I didn't
of
know
any
that.
dangers. They constructed the spires and droid foundries, as well as more complicated architectural feats, such as the infamous arena. Some of the members of the caste were also known to have non-functioning wings. The only hope a worker might have of escaping its lowly status lay in gladiatorial combat. Geonosians of lower caste were often pitted against other Geonosians in the large arenas they themselves constructed. If the
Yeah, the
Geonosian
Colosseum-looking
survived,
thing.
it achieved status and ascended socially or gained enough wealth to leave Geonosis altogether. Then, there was the fact that many Geonosian workers were forced to construct the first Death Star, with the planet completely sterilized by the Empire once it was complete. Number 10.
Yeah, I think I read that in the
Kamino
comics.
Kamino's history is a lot darker than you may have realized. Kamino wasn't always an ocean world. At the end of a planet-wide ice age, the water levels rose tremendously and submerged most of the world underwater in what became known as the Great Flood. Pushed to the brink of extinction, the Kaminoans were only able to survive because of their supreme knowledge of genetics as they began selective breeding and cloning. The Kaminoans took great pride in their scientific breakthroughs, but gave little thought to the ethics of their work or the consequences of their deployment. This, of course, leads us into their
Makes
most
sense.
well-known cloning project, creating the Grand Army of the Republic's clone troopers. Those troopers would go on to wipe out the Jedi during Order 66, become an image of fear across the galaxy as the Empire tightened its grip, and, oh yeah, came home to destroy Kamino cities and cloning facilities. But what's your take? What do you think is the worst
Yeah, I
job
remember
in the
that from
Star
the
Wars
Bad Batch.
galaxy? Let me know in the comments. Also, a massive shout out to the members of our Discord server who submitted many of the ideas that made the cut. You guys are the best. Come join us to chat more at our community Discord server linked in the description, If you enjoyed today's Star Wars video, we've got more on the screen
Wow,
for you
that-
right
that was
now.
crazy, all
Also,
10
make sure to
jobs.
drop a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe to join the Red Squadron. Until next time, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you. Red 5, standing by.
Okay, so that was 10 worst jobs in all of Star Wars. So the two videos that he mentioned at the beginning, like the 10 worst jobs in, well, I don't know if it was 10 worst, the worst jobs in the Clone Army and the Empire, I still need to get to those. But either way, I say he hit the nail on the 10 worst jobs. Because I can't imagine myself doing those jobs, to be honest. I mean, the pay better be really good and there better be some benefits. That's like the only way to make those jobs like tolerable, even in like real life. Law enforcement, military, like myself. And also, you know, like miners and oil rigs. Man, dude, those guys are just crazy. And I know like there's underwater welders who are paid like almost like 30K a month. And I seen what they do, and the risk of death every single day that they do this, do their job is crazy. So they really do earn their pay. But either way, which job do you think that he mentioned is the worst out of the 10? For me personally, I would say the spice miner, to be honest, because the thing is, every single job, I know there's a risk when it comes to life expectancy, but however, he said that life expectancy is like 2 years for a human. So, and did you see those stairs and like climbing all that? No. So basically, overall, they all had one thing in common: slave. Worst job ever is a slave. Man, it is crazy to think like some of these jobs in the Star Wars universe. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. And also, please put down in the comments below which of the 10 jobs is the worst in your opinion. And also hit that notification bell so you know when I drop another video. And thank you so much for your support, guys. I really do appreciate it. And shout out to all my members, subscribers, viewers. You guys are all amazing. You guys are the reason why this channel keeps on going. So until then, I'll see you guys next time.